I think the project that best kind of foreshadows what I want to do as a career in film is a pilot I wrote freshman year. It was called New Chicago. It's a mystery that mixes in noir and fantasy with politics and business too, and it's a drama and also a period piece that takes place in 1947. On top of all that, it was the first pilot I'd ever written. So as a writer, I want to be a world builder. I love worlds with rich lore that draw me in thematically and visually. So for me, it matters a lot how that all relates to the character. Um, an interesting subject matters, but they have to be made or broken by the setting they're in, the setting the writer puts them in, to me. I want to be a writer that has a mastery of characters, but also builds my own worlds and explores the relationship between the two. There's a difficulty in that because I have to follow the rules that I make. For instance, in New Chicago, it's a very dense and seedy city. It's more than a mystery or a drama. I wanted to make it a very American story, and I want to tell very American stories as a writer because I feel like there's a lot of substance behind flawed systems and the ways that people manipulate them to justify their actions or the way that sometimes they hurt people. By burying things like corruption and organized crime, violence and class divisions under magic and fantasy, I tried to make it very, very profound, but also very subtle. Anyway, the pilot follows Russell, who's a military detective who just returned from World War II, which extended to 1947 instead of 1945 and ended because of magic and not because of nuclear bombs. He's returning slightly earlier than everyone else because his wife had just been killed in an accident and someone needs to look after their 9-year-old daughter. And he's soon pulled into a complex world of gangs and mob bosses and corrupt politicians and greedy magic corporations when the wife of Glenn Lewis, a CEO of a magic company, is kidnapped. Russell's old war buddy is the son of the magic CEO, and so he gets the job of finding her. So that's basically what the pilot is about. But as a screenwriter, I want to touch people and kind of spur their minds to think about the world around them in a different light, not in a preachy way. But despite the magic and the time period, I think New Chicago is a reflection of today's world and it is critical, but there's elements in it that make it an entertainment project first. But I think listening to someone with something to say is entertaining. So I always try to have substance and opinions behind what I'm writing. Because of that, as a writer, I like to have concrete answers in my voice and my themes in my stories instead of questions. I don't like to have themes in my projects that are just like, what is the nature of mankind? Or like, can one choose between duty and family? I always like to present an answer. And in this pilot, that question was, how can one be honorable in a world that they see as evil? And can someone thrive in an environment that they can't stand? And the answer that I came up with is just to do what you think is right. Russell can't really control what evil thing will happen next in the city. He can't stop like what corrupt business dealing is about to go down. He can really only control what's happening in Russell's own little personal bubble, and that's kind of the conclusion that he comes to throughout the series. Not right away in the pilot; it takes a while to get there. I think I'm a simple writer in a good way. One of my mottos is to do simple better. And in New Chicago, I tried to have it be a simple story in its presentation. And even though the city has a lot of moving parts, backed with characters that all have different relationships, I'm happy that when I sit down to read it, the presentation and the dialogue are simple and they're very easy to understand. You know, you understand where each character is coming from and where they want to go, and how those paths they're on are going to intersect and conflict with each other. I really want the reader, the viewer, to understand what they're seeing and experiencing instead of like having them have to piece together like every little thing on their own. But I also want to give people the option to cut deeper if they want to. So that's exactly what I kind of want to do for a career. 1 hour dramas, maybe in mystery or science fiction or fantasy or action that take place in rich worlds with um, very profound characters and just have something to say.